You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the TLF, radio zone.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. This is The Last Frequency. I'm Mike Vara. This broadcast is coming at you live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, located on the east coast of the United States. The website is, well, lastfrequency.com will get you there. Vara Radio Network will get you there. MikeVara.com will get you there. Take your pick. And that's how you get there. When you do get there, there is a portal which you could get questions to myself or the guest. There's also, you can sign up for the newsletter. You can join the website. Yeah, and, well, you can subscribe, you can donate, you can check things out, and, yeah, we've got the final countdown coming back to the VARA network in February, so it's going to be Peter Kling and Dr. Jason Rand, and their producer, Cece. They'll all be at it again, and I'm already getting emails of people who are looking forward to hearing Peter again, and well, so am I. He'll be with me on the 24th right here on this show. And so anyways, it is Monday night, and, well, I guess there's no football. The Bills, they screwed it up again. Yeah, they blew it again. You know, yeah, they got a lot of injuries on defense. Yeah, you know, but there's always something. Always something. Again, they should have won another wide right. Another kicker wide right. Scott Norwood's got to feel a little better today. 44-yarder, missed it. That's it. Now it's the Chiefs and the Ravens, and I don't even think I'm gonna watch it. I mean, I've so lost my interest. I know it's bad calls by the officials, but I'm not gonna get into that either. I mean, the bottom line is, they were a good enough team. They should have won. They should have won outright. Shouldn't have come down to a field goal. Shouldn't have, just like in the Super Bowl with the Giants that year. It shouldn't have came down to that. Shouldn't have came down to a field goal. You know, you're blowing teams out that year. Well, you're not in the Super Bowl, though. Anyways, nor here nor there. You know, it's, in my opinion, a lot of it's, you know, these officials are paid to fix things, and that's why Vegas gets it right so much, but in any case. So I've got a good guest joining me here tonight as I'm trying to pull up information. Yeah, Marilyn Hughes is joining me. Marilyn Hughes is, well, she's going to be, her website's www.outofbodytravel.org. So I'll give you a little idea of what we'll be talking about tonight. We will be talking about out-of-body travel. And so should be interesting. And then again, like I say, The 24th that's going to be Wednesday's show. Peter Kling will be with me, and we'll be talking about prophecy, the here and the now, and all that good stuff. And so shows are going to be over on Rumble probably after tonight. That's where you're gonna find me, over on Rumble, and I'm gonna be loading shows over on YouTube, but I'm not gonna be live there because it's gonna be uncensored, and they can't handle that over there on YouTube. The YouTube gods can't handle it, and I don't want to mess up the channel, so I'm just gonna do it a different way. I tested out some other places, Facebook, X, which was Twitter, and Twitch, and some other ones. And I think right now Rumble looks like the best outlet, in my opinion. I mean, even Facebook, not all that. They censor too. So, so that's what that is what I'm going to be doing. Not probably, but I will be doing that. So before we go too far, and before I tell you too much about the guest, I should probably get into a little bit of news and whatever. I used to say news and discovery. I can't even do news, could just do discovery when you're on YouTube, because if you get in any real news, then they don't like that. It's too bad it's like that. It used to be a good place. It used to be a place where you can freely speak and express yourself, and not no more. Unless, certain ways, but anyways. So, space rock slammed into the moon. The explosion was seen from Japan, they say. From Japan. Let's see. So they say in Japan, they captured a meteor impact, hit the moon with multiple telescopes. The crater created from the impact is thought to be a dozen meters in diameter, according to Fuji. That is Dachi Fuji from a city museum there in Japan. So they were able to catch it with several telescopes. So the moon took an impact. See, it takes one for the team. The moon, often, I think. If it wasn't there, it's probably it protects us sometimes. Look at all the craters on that sucker. India is starting to split in two. That's right, splitting in two, India. A new study discovers that India is changing drastically under the Earth's surface, as a new study has revealed that the Indian continental plate could be splitting in two. I got a good friend, Uday out there. He's a good friend of mine. He's from India. And, he tells me about, how things are in India. I say, hey, when someone comes into the store there and starts acting a fool, what happens in India? He says, they get stick and they beat them in the back with stick. He says, they never do again. How nice. So, I guess while you might picture a tectonic plate breaking into two pieces and separating sideways, scientists are claiming that the change is happening horizontally and the plate is splitting into separate layers. There's been much debate amongst the scientific community, about what could be behind the formation of this split, if you will. And a new theory was posted at the American. There we go. Let me blow that up a little. Yeah, my eyes are getting just a little older these days. So I don't know, India. I remember not long ago seeing a big crack in the Safari Desert too, or it wasn't Africa. Yeah, it was in Africa. I think it was the Safari Desert, and a big crack going through it, like it was breaking apart too. So everyone kept saying, it's Planet X, it's Planet X, it's Planet X. Well, where is Planet X? I don't know. I had Marshall on recently. He said it's still out. Authorities in New Mexico are investigating after an explosive device was found Monday near a courthouse in Deming. The explosive device was found near Luna County Magistrate Court, according to the Deming Police Department. Police had added there was the possibility of a second device, and they had advised people to steer clear of the area. Deming is located in southern New Mexico, about 35 miles north of the U.S.-Mexico border. And so let the games begin. The borders have been open. Everything and its uncle has came, and now, it's going to get interesting. It is going to get very interesting. So let me tell you what's happening. So, all right. So Wednesday is the last frequency, and then I flip over into full time with the uncensored. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to keep Last Frequency a family-type show in case I ever want to bring it back. And uncensored, it's already what it is. And so I'm going to, dress it up a little bit. And that's what we're going to go with because I want to be able to just let loose. I don't want to be censored and held back. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years. I've bit my tongue many times through the years, only a few times that I've actually blown up and used the language. And then, there's uncensored. And it's not that I want to swear or I have to swear, but when I feel like I want to, I want to. When I want to talk about certain things like, rolling up your sleeve and all that stuff, I want to be able to talk about it. And some of these places you cannot do it, but on Rumble, I definitely can. And so that's where it's going to take place. And if you like the show, then you'll be over there. If not, then you won't. And, good riddance to you, I say. So, anyway, so my guest coming up here next, Marilyn Hughes, and we're going to get into conversation about out-of-body travel. Also, as I said, Peter Kling and Dr. Rand are coming back, and so website's getting flipped over into more of a network website. We're going to try this one more time, and and so that's where we're at. And Uncensored is going to be my new baby, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm going to be off after Wednesday. I'm going to be off until February 1st. So I'm going to be off because I've got to get everything in order, get everything, dot my I's, cross my T's, get some, figure out guest-wise and all that stuff. So I'm going to need a little time. I'm taking time off both jobs so that I can work here at the desk and get things done for the show. So that is the plan. All right. So with that, let me take a break. When we come back, I'll have guest Marilyn Hughes with me. You are listening and viewing The Last Frequency on the VARA network. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Remember, video, and when I get over to Rumble and doing full-time Rumble, I don't have to do this. But right now, I have to mute you.
Stand by, Carolinas.
Carolina Radio, Columbia.
Excellent.
Your talk station. Hey, frequencies of all walks of life. Keep up with all things TLF Radio by joining our mailing list. Go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the form. You'll get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now.
You're listening to the VARA Network.
Frequencies around the world. Listen up. The shop is here, and you can order TLF radio swag right now and show your friends and neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts. We have coffee mugs, clocks, so never miss your favorite shows, books, mouse pads. Just go to thelastfrequency.com and click the shop link. That's thelastfrequency.com and get to shopping.
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
You heard me. Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
For all your bumper sticker needs, just click on the Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers banner located at the foot of my website, www.lastfrequency.com. That's Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers and more.
You're making me crazy.
Hey, Walmart shoppers, how about you spend your money in a useful manner? Try a Last Frequency subscription. It's pennies on the dollar.
I love this damn show because he's not going to take it anymore. So turn off the other crap and pull up a darn seat, will you?
Tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours of mind-blowing radio and TV. The Last Frequency covers everything.
You're listening to the wonderful Vara Network.
This is the Last Frequency.
You are the resistance.
Do you have a thirst for knowledge and a curiosity for the unknown? If you answered yes, then you need to tune into the Last Frequency radio show with veteran talk radio host Mike Vara. The Last Frequency is a talk radio show that covers everything from UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, forbidden archaeology, government cover-ups, and much more. The Last Frequency is live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern on lastfrequency.com. You can also watch the show on Rumble, but if you want to get the full experience and access a much wider archive of past shows, you need to become a subscriber. As a subscriber, you will be part of the resistance and support independent media. Don't miss this opportunity to join the Last Frequency community and get informed, enlightened, and entertained. Subscribe today and get ready for the ride of your life. Because when all communications go down, this just may be your last frequency.
From the great Southeast, in the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to The Last Frequency with your host, Mike Vara. To get questions to Mike, just go to the portal page on the website or give a call at 803-369-3629. Now, here is Mike Vara.
You are listening and watching The Last Frequency. I am Mike Vara, and we are live on this Monday night. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my guest, and then I will bring her on. I think I have her. Marilyn Hughes had a long-standing career in broadcasting as a news anchor, reporter, and producer. She has experienced, researched, written, and taught about out-of-body travel and mysticism since 1987. Has written more than 50 out-of-body travel books. Website, www.outofbodytravel.org. And, well, there's several books, and we'll talk to her about all that in just a moment. So let's see here. No. Gotta hit the right one. There we go. All right. So do I have my guest on the line?
Yes, I think we do.
All right. Well, Marilyn, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing just fine. It's wonderful to have you back on the show. So how's everything going now, 2024? Is it kicking off okay for you, or?
Yeah, everything's great. It's great to talk to you again. How are you doing?
I am doing just fine. I mean, things could always be worse, right? I mean, so
right?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say, hey, I'm better off than I can be. So.
Well, that's true for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. So, listen, thank you so much for taking time out to be here. I'm looking forward to talking with you. I guess tell me how do you go from broadcasting, news anchor, reporter, to interest in out-of-body travel and mysticism?
Well, it kind of came upon me because I started having these out-of-body experiences and kind of ended up reporting on the mystical realms instead of the physical material realm instead. Just kind of accidentally, so kind of just took a little bit of a detour because of it. It wasn't something I anticipated or definitely planned, but it came upon me because of this thing, almost 40 years ago, where started having the out-of-body experiences, started journaling them. Paid attention to what was happening with them, and began writing the books and seeing all of these patterns and things that were forming into this very interesting sequence of events that has kind of led to this very intricate work that I've done, which is laid out this path of purification that I've talked about all these years, that out-of-body travel seems to take us down and lead the soul into.
And so when you say out-of-body travel, are you talking about just an out-of-body experience, or is this like a remote viewing kind of thing? There's a difference there, isn't there?
Yeah, remote viewing is a different, it's actually a different modality. I literally wrote a little booklet. It's right behind me, so let me just grab it and sure. I can give you the name of the book. I wrote a book that I put out a year or two ago called Out-of-Body Travel, Astral Travel, and Remote Viewing, where I actually laid out very specifically the differences for people if they're interested, and showed why they're so different. Because I did study remote viewing and became a trained remote viewer, and found that they are very, very different. And part of the reason I was so interested in doing that was because so many people do think out-of-body travel and remote viewing are the same thing. And what I discovered in studying remote viewing is that they are very, very different. Even though there is a psychic component to remote viewing, there is not the same mystical component that there is to out-of-body travel. Out-of-body travel is much more of a mystical experience that goes into traveling other spheres and realms, into higher heavenly realms, and also goes into purgatorial and hellish realms. And literally you're going into an infinite number of spheres and dimensions, whereas remote viewing is generally and most often focused on the physical world and a psychic, or ironically, that is focused much more also on some subconscious elements that you use to tap into the unconscious mind. So it's very different, actually.
Yeah, so one basically is the consciousness traveling, I think, in some sense, and the other one is the soul. Is so the soul and the consciousness. I'm making it complicated now, but the soul and the consciousness, are they the same thing, or is there a separation there too? I mean, sometimes it's kind of confusing, like what powers all of it. Is it the consciousness? Is that the soul?
Well, consciousness and soul would be different elements of our spiritual being. Consciousness is one aspect of the soul rather than the entire thing. But I don't know that it's all that important to, delineate or take them all apart. I think sometimes we can make it too complicated, and it can be much more simplified for people. And when we make it too complicated, sometimes I think it makes it harder for people to embrace just the simplicity of the natural state of being, which is actually, our shared nature, which is that spiritual nature that we have, that we are all, we are all creatures who have, the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and the intellectual components. And yes, you can break it down into all of these different aggregates of existence. But, ironically, even in the Buddhist train of thought, one of the things that they wanted to do with the 5 mental aggregates was to break them down for the very purpose of removing all these things that attach us to these ideas, which kind of hold us to this clinging, this grasping at this identity and this idea of ourselves, which actually kind of holds us back from having the spiritual experience of life. And I think that that's what I would like to pull people away from doing as well, which helps us to remember there is a simplicity to our spiritual essence that is experienced by a lot of people in the out-of-body travel state, because this is a state, and this is a part of our essence, the spirit and soul, which we're experiencing in that experience that we all share. It's not something that is just unique to me or to others who have had the experience. This is a universal aspect of all human life, and literally all life, and it's part of our makeup. And so when we simplify it, and when we recognize this is actually just simply part of how we are constructed, it makes it less foreign to people. And they realize it's accessible to them. It's not that difficult for them to reach towards. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, absolutely. And so I guess I've told this story a million times. I hate to bore my listeners with it again, so I'll be really quick. But, my father, when he was passing away, and I find it amazing, and that's why I bring it up so much, but he claimed that there was a spirit meeting him in the middle of the night. and taking him out of his body and traveling him through the hallways through the night. And he said while he was out of his body, he felt great. Now, he didn't tell this to me, but he told this to the nurses and told my my siblings. And then they passed it on to me. When I got there, I tried to get out of him who it was, but apparently he wasn't sure. He didn't know. He wasn't speaking much either. So when we get out of our body, what is to stop somebody from getting in it?
Well, eternal law, for one.
Well, that helps.
I think that we have a lot of fears that we project onto these sorts of things that are actually a little bit on the irrational side, in the sense that these kinds of things of people jumping into our bodies because we are out of our bodies, it's common fear, but it's also kind of an irrational fear. And I'll just throw something out there that will help you understand why it's an irrational fear. The reality is that half of our life, when we are sleeping, the majority of humankind is experiencing some level of out-of-body travel. It's just a matter of the fact that people are not having the same level of consciousness of the experiences. One of the things I've been shown over the last 38 years on this subject has been that during sleep, we are having experiences where the angels, spiritual guardians, spiritual teachers, various types of spiritual beings, and people like the person that was helping your father at the moment of his death, because this is very common because we are all given assistance at the time of death, are giving us assistance in our sleep to assist our souls to make adjustments in our energy, to make adjustments in our consciousness, to adjust our thinking, to present us with ideas on unconscious or subconscious levels, to do things that might make suggestions to us regarding our destiny, regarding relationships that might be important in our lives. This is going on from the day we're born till the day we die. And so this period of life, when we are sleeping, when we are going deep, we are having these experiences. So every soul, to some degree, has experienced out-of-body travel. It's just that every soul has memory of it to a different level. And that means there are a lot of people who have no memory of it at all. But that doesn't mean they're not experiencing it. Right. So when I go back to the comment about it being irrational, the reasoning is that the natural mechanism is that people are leaving their body almost every night for at least portions of their sleep cycles. And so just becoming conscious of the fact that that's happening doesn't change the fact that you've already been doing that most of your life. All that it's doing is making you become aware consciously of what has been transpiring unconsciously. But what makes it so important is that all of this teaching, all of this spiritual guidance, all of these things that you have not been remembering, all of a sudden can become available to your conscious mind, to your conscious experience. And these experiences are life-altering, beautiful, unbelievably just life-changing for people, just like near-death experiences can be. And these things have the capacity to truly catapult and fast forward your spiritual development in this lifetime, if the experiences and the guidance and the direction and the energy that you are receiving is utilized properly.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize about out-of-body travel. It has that capacity to truly like speed you up in a way that is life-changing.
Yeah, and I've had some experiences of my own, and I'll tell you, every experience I've ever had is life changing, whether it be with that or I've seen crafts in the sky and that kind of thing. No, I've not hung out with aliens or anything, but I have seen the crafts. And I've lived in a haunted apartment once. I mean, truly haunted. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on in there. And I had my mother came to me once, and actually I got out of my body so I could travel with her, and she showed me what she wanted to show me, which was really strange, but it was true. I mean, it happened. I don't know what it was or where we went or any of that or how it all works. All I know is it happened, and because everything that I was told came true later. So. And I've had all these kinds of paranormal experiences. I've had out of body experiences, which I've had no control over. They just happened. This is, it'd been a long time. 2005 was the last time it happened. So,
yeah.
So, but these things, I just, I always thought that dreaming, when you're in the dream state, that's kind of like the soul says, all right, the body's sleeping. Let me get out of here for a little while.
Well, that definitely does happen during some types of dreaming and lucid dreaming. And you'll see that people will have what I call spiritual dreaming, where they may have vivid dreams, where they have distinctive spiritual direction. And it's very clearly a unique dream, where it's not just a random dream with no apparent meaning, where they're definitely receiving guidance of a spiritual nature that is obviously profound. An out-of-body experience will be different from that, however, because an out-of-body experience is experientially different. You go through what's called the vibrational state. You're going to go into usually the astral plane to start with, where you're going to hear the sounds of the loud sounds of the jet engines. Some people feel like being electrocuted, but it's actually just that switching off into the spiritual realm, switching out of the physical body into the spiritual realm. The loud sounds of the astral plane come from the fact that it's a higher vibrational realm. You're going to hear a lot of voices, and that's the sounds of the thoughts of humanity. But the astral plane still is a very, very low level vibration realm in comparison to the places that you can travel. And so, you begin your training in the out-of-body experiences by doing some of the what are considered very basic things, like learning how to see and move and go through walls and windows in the astral plane and moving through the twilight, so to speak. But then you're going to quickly want to move to traveling through portals and corridors into higher spheres, into different types of realms where creation resides, into past lives, going into past lives, forward into future lives, moving into parallel realities. And there are so many different possibilities. Eventually, you travel into all these beautiful spaces in the heavenly spheres, which involve crystal cities, crystal forests, cities of light in the heavens. The mysteries of all the religions can be laid out before you over time. The wisdom of the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages can be revealed to you in different ways. It takes time, and it's done in little snippets, one experience at a time, one step after another. You see these beautiful, beautiful things, and you experience these unbelievably beautiful vistas in the majestic galactic heavens. You do see, like you mentioned, the extraterrestrials, many, many different races. You experience them,
Yeah,
And
I've seen craft in the sky, not just though it's a light in the sky, or it could be a planet, or it could be a satellite. I mean, I literally you could this intelligent craft moving very fast through the sky. Like 1 minute it's on this side, the next minute it's on the other side of the sky.
right,
And
right.
just nothing would be able to go that fast. It's like Superman or something up there. But yeah, I've seen them. I've seen several in my life, and it's weird because there's people who've never seen one, and I don't know why that is. Maybe they don't look up enough. But have you ever seen anything like that yourself?
Oh, many, many times.
Ooh.
Yes. And many different races, So I've seen the Pleiadians, a lot of the Pleiadians who come in these amazing craft. Some of them come in the saucer-shaped craft, which are silver with the metallics, and underneath they have the blue spherical orb underneath.
Yeah.
But they also come with the motherships, and the motherships are huge and almost kind of like those big moving ships that have that rumbling, that's like this earth-shattering rumbling as they come. It's like a vibration that moves the earth. I've seen the Blessed Mother come out of one of the Pleiadian ships as the Lady in Light, wearing robes of white and purple with a crown of gold on her head. I didn't know who she was at first, and then I realized that this beautiful Lady in Light from the Pleiades was the Blessed Mother. And that's when I realized, my goodness, she was from the Pleiades.
Yeah, well, and I've always thought when you get into biblical characters, even Jesus and such, and I know a lot of people feel differently, but I felt like he's always been some kind of extraterrestrial, because it's said that he says his kingdom is not of this world, right? Well, then what world is it of? So I don't know. It's just all the things he was able to do. It seemed like he had technology, and of course, primitive people wouldn't understand it, And then there's the the light that followed Moses and all that stuff. I don't know. When you start thinking about all these things, it just starts to make a little sense that there was some technology involved there.
Well, yeah, and there is a lot of interesting things in the in the annals of ufology about all those things. So I had been shown that both Jesus and Mary had some origins in the Pleiades, and I'd been taken to the Alpha Centauri, which is a very psychic race. And so they took me there so that they could try to teach me some of their ways in terms of developing my gifts in that area, which, I am not a psychic, but they took me there to kind of show me how because they speak to one another entirely telepathically. That's how they communicate with one another. And then I've seen so many, and it's hard to just remember them all in the right.
See, and that would make sense too. That the telepath, a lot of people who I've spoke to claim to have been abducted, claim that and this is how my mother actually spoke to me when we were together out of body or whatever. She was telepathic. And I think the reason extraterrestrials do that, I think because then you don't, no specific language, like you just know what they're saying. It's
yes,
yeah,
yes, that's a universal language, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes. And that goes to the other universal language, which is the universal language of vibration and frequency, and also, which is another thing that is known to many of the world religions, which is the universal language of light and sound, which is another thing you experience in the out-of-body travel state, and which is utilized when you are out of body to help a soul to transcend to higher and higher levels of knowledge. It's always vibration, frequency, light, and sound. And that's how we actually become more able to understand higher levels of wisdom and knowledge. It's not information, it's it's frequency, it's vibration. And so there's this constant process of vibrational raisings and these frequency shifts that we are undergoing to make it possible for us to travel to higher spheres and also for us to understand better the things that we are being shown as we go to these other places that are just beautiful, but also contain within them hidden mysteries, which we wouldn't necessarily understand without the continuing vibrational thrusts that are given to us as we continue to try to move higher and higher in understanding.
Yeah. Now, do we come back? Do we, when we do check out of this hotel Earth, do we come back? Do we check back in at some point?
Yeah, reincarnation definitely occurs, and that's part of the reason we'll go back and remember some of our past lifetimes. We'll go through what I call the time tunnels and go into some of our previous existences. And part of the reason for that is so that we will start seeing what the patterns of habitual behavior might be in our past lifetimes and how we might be bringing that forward into the present. And by doing this, you get a chance to see, well, how did I handle this same scenario in these different lifetimes and what didn't work? And then you're able to see, well, okay, well, these things I did were not the solution. And so here I am again. And so I can check these off my list as these were not the things that actually gave me the final resolution. And the goal that I'm seeking is to kind of graduate from this mortal academy into immortality. So I have to figure out what it is that I am not understanding in terms of this scenario in my life that I need to transcend into a higher understanding, into a higher thrust that will bring me to a conclusion that leads to possibly like a final incarnation here. And so, yes, we do. And part of what happens if a soul enters into the out-of-body travel, experiences as a mode for spiritual awakening, a lot of times they do start having some memories of these past lifetimes, and it's for that purpose.
Okay. I wonder how many times we may have to come back. Some say that there's a time when we don't. What kind of irritates me is that you live your life, you trip, you fall, you stumble, you do all that stuff throughout your youth. You start getting a little older, you finally get it together. You start accumulating things, whether it be credit and all these other things, right? You finally get sensible. Then you get old and you pass away. Somebody else gets all your stuff, then you come back and you got to start all over again.
Well, even in that, it probably tells us something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. It does. I mean, I'm okay with starting over. I've done it many times in this life anyways, but
yep.
Yeah, so it's probably going to have, it probably won't be the last either. So you've got books. So you've got several books. You want to throw some of them out there, or anything you want to share about those books?
Yeah, we could talk about, the ones I recommend for people who are just starting out would be The Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism. And that starts the Mysteries of the Redemption series. There's a series of books that follows that, which you can just follow along. And also Come to Wisdom's Door, How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience. And that is the starting book in the How-To series. And there's about 9 books in that series. All of the books are downloadable at the website outofbodytravel.org for free. You can go to the website, and it'll take you to a download site, which is outofbodytravel.wordpress.com, where you can download everything for free. We also have a bunch of films for you at our YouTube channel. So if you just go to the website and make sure you go to the YouTube channel, we have about 9 or 10 films on how to have out-of-body experiences and everything else, like the grand phases of the soul as well, which explains the 8 different phases of the soul development, but a bunch of others as well. The initiations into the mysteries, the rites of passage, and a whole bunch more. And also lots of seminars and classes that you can take right at the channel. So all of those are just available right there. And, there's about 110 books for you to take a look at, including a bunch of books that I also put out on out-of-body travel and world religions, which is interesting, I think, and very helpful for people to see that out-of-body travel has been around since the beginning of time. And one of the things that I was led to do in my experiences was to gather the ancient sacred texts from the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages in all the world religions and create this stairway to heaven, so to speak. And this was something that I was shown several times in some beautiful out-of-body experiences where I was shown these beautiful ancient sacred texts that were left behind by these great masters from all around the world in every tradition, culture, and faith. And these last words that they had left behind before they left this world for the very last time, because they had figured it out. They had finished here. They were done. And these books became this staircase from the earth to heaven. And it's this little meandering staircase that was just going from the earth to heaven through the beautiful stars and the nebulas and the galaxies. And it was just such a sight to behold. And one of our films is called The Stairway from Earth to Heaven, which discusses this whole thing because it's such an important concept, which is remembering that these words that were left behind by those great masters who actually left behind their final words when they figured it out. We have this gold here that still remains that we can glean from. And so a lot of the books that I wrote that were regarding in the world religions, and it's also scattered throughout my out-of-body travel books, are these words of the great masters that they left behind before leaving here that gives us fuel for our journey and gives us guidance as to what do we need to do to get to the final juncture, the final path for us to finish here and get past mortality and enter into immortality. And, as Paramahamsa Yogananda always talked about, go from the mortal planets to the astral planets when we leave this life, instead of continuing to karmically circle and just do this over and over and over again. This is what out-of-body travel can give to us. It can help us to stop this karmic circling where we just kind of miss the point and miss the boat, where we can actually kind of stop ourselves in our tracks and realize, oh, this is why I was sent back to Earth, and this is why I'm here. And every single one of us is here for kind of the same reason. Because if we are incarnate here, we incarnated here because we have purification to undergo. And so we already know that much. And so we start with that, and then we realize, oh, well, that's what I need to do. And then the out-of-body experience and other spiritual practices help us to undergo that purification instead of putting it off like we've been doing in our past incarnations.
Yeah.
And actually accelerate that process. Because what's funny, Mike, is that so everybody who writes to me or talks to me about the whole reincarnation thing, they all say the same thing. They say, well, I don't want to reincarnate again. And, neither do I. I mean, we all feel the same way, right?
Yeah, I don't either, but I don't, I'd rather just stay as I am for a while. I mean, I'm not bored of being me yet. So, I could probably do a good 3, 4, 500 years. That'd be okay. Because in 100, even if you live 100 years, it's not a lot of time when you think about technology and the way things change. It's just, can you imagine what it's going to be like if we survive and we're still here? What it'll be like, say, 200 years from now? I mean, I bet there'll probably be robots doing everything. Self-driving cars will be delivering pizza and stuff like that. You'll be coming out, punching a code in the trunk of the car, and the door will open, and you'll get your pizzas. And I mean, just everything's going to change so much. I just heard that Sam's Club is going to start, and some of the Sam's Clubs are using technology now. There's like these railings that when you're leaving the store, you'll go through them. And they quickly scan everything you have, everything in your cart, your bags, whatever it is. It scans everything, and if you've missed anything, it will alert somebody at the door, that you missed an item. I mean, it won't be long. You're not going to be not only you're not going to be able to steal. I don't think you're going to be going into stores to be able to steal. I think it's going to be maybe robotic deliveries, or you're going to be pulling up and robots are going to be bringing them out to you, or something of it. I think things are about to drastically change because of technology and AI especially.
Well, that may be the case, but just a few nights ago, I had a most beautiful experience with the Lord, and I was taken into this beautiful levitation before this wonderful, amazing crucifix, and I fell prostrate before it. And as I did so, I was levitated about 10 or 15 feet high up in the air in the out-of-body travel state, and was allowed to experience an ecstasy with the Lord for about 30 minutes. And I don't know, Mike, I'm taking that.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't care about the robots at Sam's Club. I'm going there.
Well, hey, you get a taste of something good, then you know what you want. And I wouldn't mind if I get into my like 80 years old, and I mean my body's getting useless anyways, maybe. So why not just become some kind of cyborg, and I could just sit here and do my show for eternity? No, I wouldn't want that either. Anyways, listen, I got a break coming up here, so let's take that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. I've got some listener questions I'll throw at you as well, so hang on with me. Folks, you are listening and viewing The Last Frequency on the VARA network. My guest is Marilyn Hughes. We're talking about out-of-body travel. If you got a question, and I know some of you do, and I've got some of them already, you may send them through the portal over on our website, which is MikeVara.com. MikeVara.com, or you can go to VARA Network or RadioNetwork.com. VARA RadioNetwork.com. All right, so with that, again, Last Frequency, VARA Network, and we will be right back. And I've got to mute you over there. Don't forget, so don't think that something went wrong with your
Number one means you're always on top. Your number one radio.
You're listening to the VARA Network. Hey, frequencies of all walks of life. Keep up with all things TLF Radio by joining our mailing list. Go to the bottom of the homepage and fill in the form. You'll get everything from guest info and show info and other important station-related information. So sign up now.
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
You heard me. Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
Crazy ass bumper stickers and more.
What?
For all your bumper sticker needs, just click on the Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers banner located at the foot of my website, www.lastfrequency.com. That's Crazy Ass Bumper Stickers and more.
You're making me crazy.
You're listening to The Last Frequency with Mike Vara.
Do you want to hear the truth about the far out, the out of the box, and the things that go bump in the night? Do you want to explore the mysteries of time and space, conspiracies and politics, and everything else that the mainstream media won't tell you? Then tune in to The Last Frequency Radio, the show that covers it all with host Mike Vara. He will take you on a journey of discovery and enlightenment and challenge your assumptions and beliefs. Whether it's UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, forbidden archaeology, or government cover-ups, he will bring you the facts and the opinions that matter. The Last Frequency Radio is live weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern on lastfrequency.com. You can also listen to past shows on our website and Rumble. And don't forget to check out the shop for some cool merchandise. The Last Frequency Radio is your source for the ultimate truth. When all communications go down, this just may be your last frequency.
This is the last frequency.
You are the resistance. From the great Southeast, in the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to The Last Frequency with your host, Mike Vara. To get questions to Mike, just go to the portal page on the website or give a call at 803-369-3629. Now, here is Mike Vara.
Having it, but it is there, and there's not too much I can do about it, except for just keep going on and trying to get to the truth, as I've tried to do for many years right here with these radio shows and talking to great guests like Marilyn Hughes. And, I'm convinced. I mean, I have no doubt that there's something. I just not sure exactly what it is. And yeah, I know there's a lot of advice on, you can have faith in this and that and the other thing, and I do in some sense, and I've experienced stuff. I just still don't know what it's all about. I still say we need to do away with the funerals. They say remember the happy times. Well, I would if you didn't make me remember that. Anyways, let's get back to it. Marilyn, we are back, and I've had this thing I've been saying for a long time. It's now is that I think we're past this gawking over a dead body thing, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's like if you want to remember the person and all the good times you had and all that, it's hard to remember all that without remembering that person laying in their casket. Like when I think of my mom, I think of all great things, sure, but I always get a flash of that funeral too. And I don't know, it's just maybe it's time to just play videos and all that good stuff, and leave the body for the earth.
Well, I used to work for the Catholic Church, and we did a lot of funerals, so I can see why you might feel that way. But for a lot of people, the funeral is a real healing event. And so I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
And not everybody does an open casket, and not everybody does the funeral with the body present.
I remember when I was a kid, my cousin died, and they did a closed casket. And I remember being happy about that when I got there. It's like, good, I don't have to stare at a dead body, and that's just kind of, as a kid, that's just how I felt. But, I've been to plenty of funerals, believe me. And I believe that, remembering them and having a memorial, I think there's a purpose for all that. It's just, when they say, just remember all the good times, it's like, okay, well, that's not a good time, and I'm going to remember it. It's just, I don't know. Just kind of me. It's where my mind goes, but, yeah.
Well, and I think everybody does have a different way of processing death. And it sounds like for you, that is not it,
No.
But there are a lot of people who do definitely find funerals very healing. I could tell you a lot of different stories, like where the funeral was, two sides of the family who were angry at each other, and it's on the funeral that they come together and in love, and that's the big moment. So many different types of stories, and it's just different for everybody.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
it
really is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do look at the funeral, and they do actually plan it as the celebration of life. And, a lot of people do funerals with cremation right now. So it's not always in that way either.
Well, and it's supposed to be a celebration of the person's life, but everybody, they wear black, they come in and they whisper. Everybody's whispering, and you hear the floor crackling a little bit here and there, and it's like, I don't know, I just think you throw some videos on, a little bit of music, and liven it up a bit, and that's the way I'd want it. I don't want
Well, let
people...
me tell you about one that you would love, Ben. This one woman who was a friend of mine, and her husband had passed, her husband of many, many years, probably 30 or 40 years, passed of cancer. And the priests loved this too. They thought this was the best thing ever. She came to the funeral in all white, and this was a funeral without the body as well. I think that was cremains. She came in all white and celebrating his resurrection into heaven. He came dancing down the middle of the aisle, and it was a completely different experience. And so, that's what I mean when I say I could tell you some interesting stories about how different people celebrated these events, that were probably different than what you experienced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, when I go to a funeral, I don't know, I respect the person, and, and I pay my respects and all that. But at the same time, I try to crack some jokes and liven it up a little bit. And,
A lot of people do. You'd be
yeah.
surprised how many people do.
And you'll get the whispering. It's like, look at him. His father's dead and he's over there choking. It's like, I mean, it's like what they don't understand is you've had plenty of time to mourn. By the time you get to the funeral, you're just about all cried out. Uh-oh, what happened? Did something happen? I think something happened. Are you still with me? Hello, hello. I see her on here. It still shows she's with me, but I don't hear her. I didn't do anything. No, we're good. Hello, hello. I'll tell you what, let me hang up and call you back.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. I hear you now.
You can hear me now?
I hear you
great.
now. Yep, the Verizon guys have caught up with us. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my kind of thing on funerals. That's like some churches. You can go to some churches and it's pretty, cut and dry. Sit down, stand, kneel, sing a few songs, and then you go to other churches, and it's like they're having a good old time in there. It depends what you like. There's a little bit of something for everybody, I guess. Right?
That's true, and there's also, to be fair with all that, there's a reason for all of that, all of that's going on. There's a liturgy involved, so different, I wrote some books on that stuff too for anyone who's interested.
Yeah? Oh.
I have some books on, in the overview series, I have quite a few books on some of the Catholic issues, some of the Catholic doctrinal things, but also a book on Protestant reforms, which goes into a lot of the different teachings of the different denominations and what they believe and what's different about them, what each one believes that's different from the other. Because I found that to be a fascinating subject myself as to, so what was the point that they turned away from, why did they break off? Because I think that at the time that I wrote that book, there were well over 30 or 40,000 different denominations. There's probably more now.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, this is interesting. Let's see if we can actually just point out what are the points of difference between these denominations. What was the reason for the branching off? And, kind of lay it out. And that's what I did with Protestant reforms. So anyone who's interested in that can check that out.
Well, that's a lot of roads to heaven, if you will. I always say, different religions, they're different, but I think in the end, they're all trying to get you to the same place, just about. I mean, some are a little more irate than others, but yeah, they're all trying to go to the same place, like having a few domains, and they're all pointing towards the same website,
Well, and the stories behind it all are fascinating. So it's a really interesting salvation history story.
Right, and you go back to like the biblical times, I suppose, and I don't know if there wasn't no solid religion of any kind, right? It was just Jesus' messages, apparently. And
well, it all began with the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, in right after 33 A.D., and that was that's what we started with, and it was the Roman Catholics, and then the Orthodox branched off in around 1034, and then you had the Anglicanization with King Henry VIII when he broke away because he wanted to. He wanted a divorce, and the Catholic Church wouldn't give him one. And so that's where we got the Anglican Church, which is the Church of England. But then we really didn't have anything other than the Catholic, the Orthodox churches of the East, and then the Anglican Church until the 1500s, which was when John Calvin and Martin Luther began the Protestant Reformation. And that's when the Protestant denominations began to spring up.
So basically then what's happened is when somebody didn't get what they wanted from one religion, they would create another one that did allow that?
Well, there were disputes over matters of doctrine.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, and what's interesting, see, is in the beginning we had the reason why there were these different. Started out with, so you had 12 apostles who were sent to 12 different parts of the world, and so each of those 12 apostles went to like Egypt, to India, to Armenia, to all these things. And so if you travel back, Jerusalem, that was where St. James was, that's where the first 12 liturgies were written. And those liturgies are all similar, but slightly different. And so that's where you have the Coptic liturgy of the Egyptians. You have the Armenian liturgy of the Armenians. But what are these liturgies? And what are these Orthodox liturgies? These are the liturgies created by each of the apostles. So these were all different apostles that had traveled to different parts of the world. And so these are just variations on those liturgies. And then they became the Roman Catholic and then the Orthodox. And the Orthodoxy broke away from the Roman Catholic over a disagreement in the role of, or the literally the definition of, or the belief in the divinity versus the humanity of Christ. And that was somewhere around 1100 AD, 1034, somewhere around there. And then the Anglican thing was unique in that it was, Henry VIII being angry about a particular situation over divorce. But in the Protestant Reformation, John Calvin came in and did a whole bunch of his own theses, and Martin Luther had his 91 theses that he actually tacked to the door of the monastery, which were his 91 disputes against the Catholic Church. And that's where the Protestant Reformation kind of basically began. And they were, he had some legitimate disputes against the church, many of which were corrected within the next 300 years, most of which actually. But a lot of Catholics will say he wasn't always wrong. He was just kind of impatient. And but this is where the Protestant Reformation began, and so people would have these disputes. So they started with Lutheranism and Calvinism, and so then when these other Protestant denominations emerged, it was because there would be then another doctrinal dispute. So someone would say, well, I don't agree with this doctrine. And so then there would be another breaking apart. And that would continue. And so in Protestant reforms, I went through and followed that, that little family tree of the breaking apart of those reforms to literally find out when and what were the disputes over of all these different branches of the tree. Because I found that fascinating.
Yeah, well, it is fascinating, and and then you got some religions that are, self-created, which I won't mention any, I guess. I don't want but there's some that, they kind of make up the rules as they go along, I think.
Well, that can happen in pretty much any religion, I guess, and it can happen in, we have to all be careful in all spiritual paths that we are very aware of allowing the movement of the Holy Spirit to run freely, and that we don't, stop it, that we're
some,
careful.
they have the multiple wives and things like that, and I mean, listen, I love women, but I mean, why would you want more than one wife? Why would a wife want more than one husband? I mean, isn't one enough, but...
Well, there you've opened another can of worms there, Mike.
Yes, I have, and that's what I do. I open can of worms. But yeah. So I don't know. I was
probably explain to you the theology behind that one too. So like you're probably talking about the Mormons. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm kind of knocking on their door. Yes.
Okay, so where that began was, so when the Mormons were coming over west from North Carolina in the early 1800s, they started around 1840-ish. They were moving over towards Utah. And, they started in Missouri because they kind of got chased out of Missouri because they, weren't wanted there. And they were dying in droves. The conditions were horrible as they moved westward. And literally, if you look at the historical records of the Mormons as they crossed, you could not look backwards or forwards without seeing headstones and graves along the way of children, women, husbands, fathers, men. And what ended up happening was there were so many women and children who were widowed and left without fathers and husbands to take care of them, that the Mormons made a decision that they would allow the men to take on responsibility for more of the wives in the tradition of the Old Testament patriarchs, because they had so many women who needed to be taken care of. And as they got out to Utah, they continued the tradition. And in their thinking and in their theology, they took it back to, the Old Testament patriarchs, all the way back to Abraham, and the idea of the multiple wives, and that's what was done in the Old Testament, so that's what we should do. But it started with the fact that so many of the men died, and there were so many fatherless children and widows. So that's where it started. Oh, okay. And then, there was the issue, there were other issues, which I won't, go into a whole bunch of detail with. It's not that there weren't issues, or, we could go into plenty of, misuses of that.
Yeah, because it happens.
Yeah, so there were misuses of that, and which happens with all these things. But that was the origin of where it started. And so it came from a good spirit, but yes, it was misused, and I mean,
I personally don't care what people do, as long as they're not hurting other people. I mean, it's not like I have anything against it. They can have 20 wives if that's what they're happy with. I mean, go for it. But it's just, I don't know. It's like I think people should do what they feel is right for them, and I mean, to a degree. I mean, now that gets taken advantage of as well. But so, how about we hit a few listener questions here? So,
oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right. So the first one here is, and hello to you too, Karen. What are some of the potential causes of OBEs? Is there something that causes it, or is it something, I mean, some people control it, right?
Very few people actually control it a lot. Some people claim that they're able to instigate them, and you can instigate them to a certain degree. I would definitely say that I never recommend that you try to control it, and I'll tell you why really quick. And then I'll go back to her question, which is the reason I don't think you should try to control it is because if you try to control it, you're going to limit the experience. And the reality is that God is much more aware of what you need to do and see than you are. And if you try to control it, you are literally going to limit yourself to what you already know and what you don't know. And so if you don't try to control it and you allow God to lead it, you are going to travel to places much grander and much greater, and you're going to see and learn and experience things to a much greater degree. You're going to actually progress much faster and do much better because God knows these things and you don't. And we have a tendency, we're going to just push and limit ourselves by what we already know. So we have a tendency to think we need to control it. If we control it, we're limiting ourselves to what we know, and we don't know enough. But anyway, going back to what causes it, it's the natural mechanism of our existence. The natural mechanism, if you can look at life and our existence as a circle, almost like the earth. If you look at life as a circle, and your waking life is the bottom part of the circle, that's your waking life when you're physically awake. And when you're asleep, it's the topmost part of the circle. That's the time that you are being educated in the mystical spheres by God and by his angels. And parts of that time, you are experiencing just normal dream sleep and things like that. But there are times when you are receiving assistance and guidance and intervention from higher forces, angels, and spiritual teachers, and other things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so the cause of it is that this is the way we are made. The cause of it becoming conscious is a soul becoming hungry for God, or hungry and seeking to know these things. So someone who just suddenly becomes hungry and who suddenly becomes very curious and wants to find the answers, who's like, I want to know what's the truth? Why am I here? And suddenly just starts seeking left and right. You know, it goes back to the old Taoist story where the Taoist master takes his disciple and puts his head under the water. And he says, when he comes back up and he's gasping for air, and he says, when you want God the way you just wanted air, that's when you'll find him. That's when people have the experiences, when they are wanting it like that.
That's like a Mr. Miyagi kind of thing, you know.
Yes,
Stick your head under the water. It's like, that's a good explanation, though. I like that. That'll get the message across real quick.
Yep, it will.
Yeah. So another question. She extends on her question. What does an OBE feel like, and what happens physically during an OBE?
Well, what is unique about the out-of-body experience is that it happens spiritually, and so that's why it feels very different. What happens is suddenly you are plunged into such a deep level of consciousness that all of a sudden you are feeling this vibration that is earth-shattering. It's almost like, you can't explain it, but let's say it's almost like it feels like an earthquake has come over your body or all around you, but it's so much more than an earthquake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, for me, it was almost like the sounds were like jet engines right next to my ears. And that's the sounds of the astral plane. And part of the reason for that is because when you detach, this is what's happening as you're detaching from the physical vibration and reattaching to the spiritual vibration, which is much higher than the physical. And so this sound of the jet engine is the vibration of that spiritual vibration. And this vibration that you're experiencing is the vibration of your spirit, which is much higher than your physical body. And so all of a sudden you're just thrust into this extremely powerful and potent vibration. And then for me, I was like, wow, what's going on? And I lifted my arm. And this is my first experience like 40 years ago. And since that time, it is expanded, but I'm just telling you what happens initially. My arm lifts up, but my physical arm didn't move. A lighted arm with my hand came up out of my body. And I immediately realized something was going on. And then, I rolled out of my body, bounced off the floor, and realized I was bouncing around the room. And then what ends up happening next, and I'm kind of bringing some experiences together to explain this, you enter into this unconditional love of God, which descends upon you like a cyclone of unbelievable proportion. Everything you experience, everything around you, all visible creation, whether it's the lamp next to you, whether it's the window in your room, exudes the love of God. You are filled with love. You are surrounded by love. Everything is emanating the vibration of God's love. And it is so beyond any kind of love that you can know or understand or have previously known or understood on earth, because it is not an earthly love. It is beyond what we know as love here. And you are overwhelmed by it, because all of a sudden you understand that you are so deeply loved, and that all of us are so deeply loved by God that it is incomprehensible. But along with this, the mysteries of God will also descend into you. And so for this time that you are out of your body, all of a sudden, all the mysteries that you always wondered about, all the things that you question, all of a sudden you understand it all. It all makes sense. Everything is known to you in that moment. When you return to your body, it will be withdrawn again. But for that time, it all makes sense. Those mysteries of God just fall into you, and you feel such peace, because it's kind of like all of a sudden you're like, wow, I understand. Yes, look how it all fits together, and it all works perfectly. It's all so good. And everything vibrates around you. The particles in the air are like little sparklers, on July 4th, except everything in the air is the sparklers. You know what I mean? It's just so vibrant. And then, as you know, as you leave the astral plane, because you're going to start going through these different portals and corridors, which take you to these higher realms. You go to these higher spheres where the colors are so vibrant and alive. They are colors that you cannot describe here, because we don't have them here. They're so amazingly beautiful. Just to peer upon them makes you feel a joy that you cannot express.
That is how one of the crafts that I seen in the sky was. It was energy. It looked like energy. It had beautiful fluorescent type color coming off of it, and it was. But the thing is, it withstood the light within itself. It didn't, like, if I didn't look up, I would. It was very bright. But had I not looked up, I would have never seen it. The light didn't shine down. It stood within itself. And they were the most brilliant shades of, I don't know, orangish. And then there was a whitish color too. And they were just brilliant. Like, I mean, I've never seen them in that way. I can't explain it.
It was something beyond what we see, beyond our spectrum, right?
Yeah, you're not finding the colors on a Sharpie or spray paint can, these were just brilliant.
Yeah, I totally understand and get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think there's a connection there somewhere with the spirit world, even this so-called extraterrestrial type travel, because you got extra ETs that can go through walls. They could beam people up and take them through, like, out of their house without putting a hole in the damn structure. They could make them what do you call it? Like particles and just like energy, and they could go right through stuff. Telepathic communications and all these. There's a lot of similarities. It's just really interesting. I don't know.
And a lot of the extraterrestrials are interdimensional beings, and so they aren't necessarily physical.
And that would make sense.
They do move interdimensionally, and that's why we see them there so much.
Yeah. I don't think all our flesh. Matter of fact, they could be sending AIs, because when it comes down to it, when we want to really travel through space, it's going to be AI robot type things. we're never gonna. I don't think we'll be able to make it. Not right away, anyways. So I think some are robotic, some are some of these crafts we see in the sky could simply be drones, like things like what we send to Mars, or maybe it's just a little spy deal to check out the atmosphere and do these things. I don't know, but there's a lot of mysteries out there, and one question that just one question, boy, I don't know. I guess, again, it would have to be just why. I mean, one of the other things that gets me is, we're one of those species, maybe some say the only species that knows we're going to die. It's like, that almost seems like a curse. In a sense, it's not, though. It motivates you, should motivate you to, enjoy it while you got it. But I mean, to know that we're going to die and then not know what comes after it's almost like I don't know, kind of a bad joke. But another question here. This one comes from, it just says North Carolina. So what is vertical perception, and how does it relate to OBEs?
I'm not sure what they mean by that.
I don't either. It's VERIDICAL, vertical perception. I don't know what that means either, but sorry, can't help you on that one. But,
sorry about that.
Yeah, so here's another one. What are some of the benefits and risks of participating in astral projection?
Well, the benefits are that you can accelerate your spiritual path, and that you become able to instantaneously change your path. And this is how. It's hard to really make people understand this. So when I talk about things being vibration and frequency, these things are energetic. And what we go into now is becoming energetically aware of things. And how does this become so important? Well, what happens is, as we go through these experiences, we're being taken into all these beautiful things, cities of light, these beautiful cities of light, crystal cities, these wonderful cities that literally open up to the sky. They have no ceilings in the galactic heavens. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. We have these beautiful things where we are taken into the mysteries, the initiations, the rites of passage, where we're shown all the infinite mysteries of, ironically, all of what these ancient sacred texts speak about, the mysteries of the religions, the things that were taught to the prophets that we don't really know what they're talking about, but these things reside in the heavens, and we get taken into these mysteries. We are shown these things, and every one of these things has an energetic element. These energetic elements raise up our vibration. And then as we're doing these things, we are being shown things from our own energetic construct and our own energetic past. So we go into our past lives. We see energetic patterns from our habitual past. And then what happens is our spiritual teachers or our guides, our angels, will take us and show us something about our character or something that we are doing, and we're taken into it energetically. And so we are not only shown it, but we are taken into the energy of it so that we experience it and feel it on a deep energetic level, so that we come back and we know it. And so we know it in a way almost like a near-death experiencer would know it after a life review. And what does that do? Rather than us spending 20 years playing around with this habit, we come back from that energetic experience and we can accelerate our overcoming of these flaws within ourselves by, literally years or decades, because of the fact that we know it. We understand it on a deeper level, and we are being shown how we can overturn it and alter it in our life and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So we stop wasting a lot of time. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, it makes sense to me. It's just hopefully it makes sense to the individual asking the question. I think it does, because it does to me. So here is another one. This is Roger. How can one induce an OBE intentionally, and what are some of the techniques involved? Now, I could have swore you just advised against that, didn't you?
Well, this is a good question.
Okay.
There are ways to, if you want to have the experience and you want to be open to it, there are ways that you can prepare to have the experience to make yourself more conscious of it and more likely to become conscious of it, become more likely to have a fully conscious out-of-body experience. And we actually have a film on it called How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience at the YouTube channel. I have Come to Wisdom's Door, How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience, which gives you a whole bunch of stuff to get started, and a whole series of books on the how-to section on the website at outofbodytravel.org. And again, you can download all those books for free. The thing you want to do is, just the overview of it. It's going to be some basic practices that start with practicing silence, meditation, prayer, and spiritual reading. And you're doing a little bit of these daily. And the books and the films will lay these out in more detail. One of the things that I like to point out is that when you're beginning the practices, you really want to try to create periods of time where you can meditate for blocks of 3 hours at a time or more. A lot of people are not aware of how much time you need to take, because in order to bring yourself down to the level of consciousness that you need to go, where you might achieve the vibrational state, you have to give it time. It's not going to happen in a 15-minute meditation or even an hour. In the beginning, you have to be willing to put in some deep meditation and for longer periods of time. And so, again, it's silence. You got to turn all that stuff off.
Yeah.
And then, the meditation, prayer, and spiritual reading. You've got to have some good stuff coming in every day that's of a spiritual nature to counterbalance all of this, mass, I call it the mass retain, which is just this worldly stuff that people have, just flying into their brains and their minds every day that kind of blocks out the spiritual.
All right. And this one is, I'm taking this one out of our YouTube chat. Tom says, I have a question. Does weed and alcohol stunt your spiritual state? I'm assuming that's a serious question. So.
Yeah, it actually does. And so I'm glad you asked. It absolutely does. And so I would recommend that you try to remove that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody had told me, it's a dream expert, that if you're someone who smokes marijuana on a regular basis, that it will block your dreaming. And if you had actually got off of it for, say, a week or two, your dream state would go like crazy. Like you'd have all kinds of dreams that would just start pouring in. I don't know. That's what they say.
Yeah, and alcohol is a real hindrance as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's a bad one, especially if someone abuses it. Alcohol does all kinds of things to the body.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
And to many other things in your life sometimes. But
Yeah.
what are some of the scientific explanations and theories for OBEs? I suppose it's probably swamp gas, right?
That's a good one. I'm probably not the person to answer that. I know that there are quite a few resources out there that you can look into for what a lot of people are saying scientifically about it. I'm a mystic, so I focus on that.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of, there's all the brain research and people have their different theories, but I think that they can speak for themselves probably better than I can.
Yes, and Tom says it was a serious question. I didn't doubt that it was. If I thought it wasn't, I would have never asked it. So, but I was curious myself.
I think it's a good question.
It was a good question. So, who is more likely to have these OBEs, and how common are they? Asks Chris.
Well, that's a really good question too, because I think that kind of puts it out there to just point out that I don't know that there really is somebody who's more likely to have an out-of-body experience, and I don't think there's a type. The only thing that I think that I see is that it's the person who really is eager to know God or eager to know the truth. The people who really start wanting to know God and they start, focusing on meditation and prayer and spiritual reading. I was told when I wrote my books that people who read The Mysteries of the Redemption and Come to Wisdom's Door, that they would start having spontaneous experiences. And I've seen that that's the case. A lot of people report that. I hear from a lot of people who have spontaneous experiences, even from watching some of our films and videos. So, feel free to try that. But definitely, I don't think there is just a particular type. I hear from so many different types of people. And the only criteria I would say is hunger.
Yeah.
That's what I see is the common element. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somebody who just wants to know God, and that's what you see in the ancient sacred texts too. If you really look into the ancient sacred texts and the writers of those from all traditions around the world, they are so different and so diverse, but they all had that hunger to know the truth.
Yeah, and I have that too, and everything I do with my free time has to do with just about everything. Has to do, like, if I watch something on TV or whatever, it's going to be a documentary educating me on something, or it's always going to be something like that. Maybe testimonials on extraterrestrial UFO stuff, or that's the kind of stuff that I engage in. Once in a while I treat myself to a movie, but I really don't do movies much. I could be a boring person, I guess. I'm really indulged in my work. I really want to know the truth to these things that I cover on this show. That's why I cover them. I've had experiences, but just, so has other people's. And we've all had, in some cases, different experiences. And so, maybe there's many truths to a lot of this.
Well, I think there's always going to be, too, what we find, and what I've definitely experienced definitely tells me that we will only know a small portion of the truth. And literally, when we all cross over, we're going to find that there is so much more to know. What St. Paul said, what eye has not seen nor ear has heard, what God has prepared for those who love him. That is the truth for sure. There is so much more, even than what I've seen after all these years. That's one thing I know. And I guess I just want people to understand, there is nothing to disqualify anybody. A willing heart, a willing spirit, God loves that. And he reaches back. Anybody who reaches towards him, he reaches back. I've seen this in this beautiful experiences that I've had. One of the ministries that I've had in the mystical experiences that I've had was that I was called to work with souls in the purgatorial and the hellish realms as well. And without going into a great deal of detail, since I know we're running out of time, I just wanted to share that one of the things I saw repeatedly was that the moment a soul reaches out and calls for help, it's instant that help is sent. And I was just amazed by this. And you see this as well in the thousands of near-death experiences that we listen to and hear about, that the minute a soul calls for help, it's sent. And that, to me, is the most important thing that people should remember from all of these experiences that people have shared, and definitely from mine too, that the minute you reach out, help is sent. Whether you're aware of it or not, doesn't matter. Help has been sent. So just keep reaching. It's, it's available to you. It may not, manifest immediately. You may not be aware of it immediately, but do not doubt that you have been heard.
Yeah. And David, he's in our Discord chat. He wants to know, how does someone get a hold of you or in touch with you if they
you can email me at marilynhughes@outofbodytravel.org, and that's 2 N's, and my email address is at the website outofbodytravel.org. Please feel free to use that, or use I think there's a contact form there, and that's, you can do that, or you can also contact me through any of my social networks as well. But definitely my email address is the easiest way to get through, so just email me.
Okay, that works. I do my best, folks, trying to watch all these different places that questions come in. It's not easy. I'm going to give you one more, and then I want to give you the floor. It's, I think, a decent question, so I want to throw it at you. How can one verify or validate the accuracy of the information obtained during an OBE?
Well, it depends. I think it's a good question. It depends on what it is they're trying to validate. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to understand without being able to kind of dialogue with the person who's asking the question. Some people focus on, like, okay, I want to, I want to go out of my body and I want to go fly somewhere and see if the card that someone's holding in their hand in another house is the card that I see. So I don't know if they're talking about this type of validation or not, or if they're talking about another kind of validation.
Well, I think I can help them with that, because in my case, when my mom came to me and she gave me information about myself that was supposed to be coming, validation for me was that what she told me happened.
Right.
Just, I'm not going to get into everything, but there's just little things like, people that came back into my life, moving situations. She told me about this stuff and it happened. So that was my validation. And on top of that, I went to a party, a birthday party at my sister's one night after that, and I flipped open a picture book that's normally not out. It was just sitting on a table, and bam, there was my mother dressed exactly the same way, looked exactly the same way as when she came to me. And I had never seen the picture before. So, just little things like that, there's your validation. I think
there's a simple validation that people can use. Christ used to say, by their fruits you shall know them. And I think that's a very simple way that you can validate your experience as to whether or not the experience is bearing fruit for you. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. All right. And so, Marilyn, I want to first thank you so much for being my guest tonight. And it's been really fun talking with you, and educational as well. And I'd like to give you the floor to get out anything else that you'd like, whatever it might be, websites, books, appearances, shows, whatever you got. Go right ahead, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been great talking to you again, Mike. Always nice to talk with you.
Yes, likewise.
Yeah, so our website's outofbodytravel.org, And the other Out of Body Travel Foundation website we now have is outofbodytravel.wordpress.com. We have all of our downloads, our free downloads are there. And we also have a free course of study that takes you through a whole bunch of really fun things there. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel because you can watch all those things I told you about. We have tons of books. You start with The Mysteries of the Redemption, Come to Wisdom's Door. The most recent series that I finished was the 4-volume Redemption series. We're also working on screenplays. The Mysteries of the Redemption is being worked into a potential television series. So we'll keep working on that. We'll keep you posted. Let's see, what else should we talk about here? I think that's about it. A lot of it's on the website. You know, if you have any questions, email me and I'll hook you up. We do spiritual counseling. If you're interested in doing one-on-one counseling, I'm available for that too. So you can check that out on the website.
Okay, well, Marilyn Hughes, thank you again. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and I hope we can do this again in the near future. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. All right, there she goes. Marilyn Hughes, again, website, go check her out, www.outofbodytravel.org. And I'll get some of this up on the website. I'm still working on the website, so there's some changes happening there. We're going to get to them and get it finished here soon. This week, I'm going to have some days off and I'll be able to actually get things tied up the way they're supposed to be. You know, I've had this taped to my desk for some time now. I can't exactly see what it says on there right now, but there's this little sliver of gold this woman, Cheryl, who was in Michigan, sent to me a long time ago, a few years back, in an envelope. A little piece of gold, and then she gave me a silver coin, too. Still have it here. For some reason, I don't know. I've always had it. I thought maybe, gold, Anunnaki will come for it or something, right? So I've always had it here on the desk. But Cheryl, I don't know where you are these days if you're still listening, but I still have it. And I have a bad feeling about our crazy ass bumper sticker sponsor. I do believe she has, I believe she's out of commission. I'm just going to say that. I don't know exactly if it's the severe out of commission or the going to be severe out of commission, but the site's down. She's not answering. Look, she, through the years, has been like, I remember one time she made me mad and I dropped an F-bomb on her and and she came right back the next night, didn't deter, didn't stop her from listening, came right back the next night, and she would be critical of certain things if she heard certain things, or certain music and stuff, and she didn't care, she'd let me know, but she was a damn good sponsor of the show, I don't know how to confirm, although just to say that I know she loved what she did, and I know she loved this show, and she's no longer, I can't get a hold of her no more, so I think I'm going to say it, I think she's gone to the great beyond, and if she has, Kathy, blessings to you and your family, and we're going to miss you. So with that, folks, I ask that you keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. So one more here coming up on Wednesday with Peter Kling, and then it goes to Uncensored. So, folks, have a great night, and really keep your eyes posted to the sky.
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening to The Last Frequency.
Indeed.